Hey everybody. I've been asked a few times if I could just go into a little bit of in-depth detail of the custom action figures that I made based on the screen used action figures from The Boys series or season 1 and 2. Now, when I first saw the season 1 of The Boys, the only figure that they showed on that season was Homelander. The other figures, except for Shockwave, Starlight, and Stormfront, were all just included in a made-for-TV commercial that they never ran on the show, but was made for production. And and I'll try to insert that into to this video so you can see it.
When crime is on the loose, the Seven assemble.
Nothing can stop the Homelander.
Can't outrun the A-Train.
Try to get past Black Noir's ninja stars.
You're in deep trouble now. Step aside, boys. Queen Maeve's here to take names.
Where's Translucent?
You can't kill what you can't see.
Light it up, Lamplighter.
Fighting crime, Seven style!
Coming soon, the newest member of the Seven, Starlight.
But people have been asking me kind of talk about what I did and what figures. Now, I don't remember every single figure that was used, but I'll kind of give a little bit. When I was first looking at doing Homelander, I started researching just kind of like who was working on production, but couldn't really find much. And just by sheer chance, the original maker of the figure for the TV show, James McKnight, was on Instagram, and I just said I was going to make one, and he was very kind to share with me which figures they used. Again, I knew it was either a Superman or a General Zod. It actually is the General Zod figure. I couldn't place the head, and he told me it was a angel head from, I think it was like season 2, but his looks slightly different than mine because he painted the entire face where I left the eyes, and he changed it a little bit. So but yeah, so it took a bit of sculpting especially in the chest area and the shoulder pauldrons. And then the cape was 2 different flags, and this part is 95% accurate to his. His stars are slightly smaller. I think he has 5 on this side and 5 on this side. But the articulation remains pretty much all there. Trying to get some close-ups, but you can see, oops, sorry, that the texture remains from General Zod here and up there here, and even on his figure it's the same. And it's just when you get into the chest that's sculpted that it loses that texture. But the belt, the boots, that's all. I use epoxy sculpt, which is a 2-part resin or 2-part epoxy that that's really great to sculpt with, because you can use water to smooth it out and a paintbrush to help just kind of contour things. It's a fantastic thing. I use it for basically all the figures, but when you're doing large portions of things and sculpting, because once it starts to dry, it's easy to really kind of get in there and do some details with. But yeah, that's Homelander. The next one I did, I believe, was Queen Maeve, which I knew was a Wonder Woman figure. Not hard to really figure it out, but the hardest parts are on a lot of these figures, especially like Queen Maeve. She had like a shoulder strap that you have to like kind of cut off, or she might have more armor up here, and then you have to cut that off and then sculpt in the details It's funny, they actually left that, which was on Wonder Woman. And I think on James's, he sculpted this, which would have been a soft goods part, but I used styrene. I just had really thin styrene. I thought it looked cleaner. So I kind of took some liberties with the figures that I made to make them look as close as the ones that James made, but I wanted to make a little bit cleaner in certain respects. So, but I always tried to match exactly well, I can't say, I guess I tried to match what he did as much as I could, and then tried to clean up certain things. I haven't moved these in a long time, so a lot of these are just like really stiff, but they retained a lot of the articulation. Yeah, so I did Queen Maeve. Her hair is a little shiny. Probably need to dull that down a little bit. So I think after that I did, I'm pretty sure I did the Deep, which again, the head came from, I think it was a Jurassic Park figure. Shoot, I forget. But the body was a Hawkman that had armor on, let me see, on this side. So this whole bicep and shoulder was armor, so I had to shave it off and then contour it to make it look similar to the other side, because otherwise it wouldn't look that nice. And then obviously do the epoxy sculpting into here. Oh no, the head. Oh, the head was it was Captain America from, shoot, I think Winter Soldier. One of those, yeah, it was a Captain America. I thought it was a Jurassic Park. I thought it was a Chris Pratt one, but it's not. It was a yeah, Captain America, and I had to sculpt in the hair up on top here. Those are right there, just like that little kind of lip, and then blend it in. But yeah, so the body was Hawkman, head was Captain America. Seems like James had a bunch of like legends, Marvel legends laying around. And I used styrene for the fins. And yeah, this was a pretty cool one to do, just because, I don't know, I like the coloring. I think James's has a bit more of the amount of dots per inch, which are even, these are tiny, but his are even smaller. But I dropped the camera, but I'm back. Anyways, that is the Deep. Again, maintains a lot of articulation, but these don't really move, but they could. I believe the next one after that I did was a combination of A-Train and Translucent, because I started both at the same time, and A-Train took a lot of sculpting, you know, both taking away from and adding to. So I don't remember the figures that I used for A-Train. I honestly, I just forget. But yeah, so he took a lot of sculpting. And then obviously the paint work on him is, he was probably the hardest to get from all the figures, just because I wanted to really nail the paint scheme that James did on him based on the figure. But it was really difficult. And then just the sculpting, I mean, everything sculpted, the knee pads, all these pads. But again, so I may have done something differently to capture more accurate things. But like when James did his, he was only given production photos and production sketches and, well, actually pre-production. So he only had a limited amount of things to go on, even probably down to the actor's face, that he didn't really know who was going to be cast, because these were all made well before production started. So yeah. So anyways, A-Train, I always like the shoes that him and Shockwave have, which are actually based on real ones. His are based on Nikes, and then Shockwave's original shoes are based on Enco shoes, and then his other ones, these ones, are based on another pair of actual shoes. So it's almost like they bought the shoes and then built the costume around it, which I wouldn't doubt, because these would be a pain to do for production, is to actually make multiple pairs of shoes. So yeah, so his visor is actually made of just clear plastic. Hair is sculpted. I mean, everything's sculpted except for these, which leads me to believe, I think it might have been another Captain America. I don't remember, sorry. But then translucent was, it was, the body was Ghostbusters Venkman. So basically Bill Murray's character, that was the boots, or these were covering, they were kind of like flared out. So I had to trim these and sculpt into here. The remainder of the suit is pretty much the same, again, except for here, I think they came to a point, and so I had to like sculpt this. The head, neck, hands are from Iceman's, and I want to say it's Legends as well, but I don't remember. You can probably just look up. But then I had to kind of cut a lot of his hair off, because I think it was like spiky, but I wanted to kind of keep a little bit of like an actual haircut on him. Unlike James is actually, I think it's more bald. He went more bald on it. So I kind of wanted to like go more off what was seen on screen from Translucent, that character, versus that. So yeah. I think I had to fill it in the back too. I think he had a peg hole in the back. But yeah. I believe the next thing I did was Black Noir. So the body and head, I think everything was the Reverse Flash. If I remember correctly, I believe it was the Reverse Flash, with some sculpting on the chest, the abs, the armor on the shoulders, and obviously the head. I had to sculpt a little bit and add in things in his mouth. So, and then obviously like doing all the knives. And I did these out of styrene. I believe these are out of styrene as well. And then just a lot of more sculpting, because I think the ribs here are sculpted, if I remember correctly. It's been so long. But I had all his photos, and then just would do what I can, and then James, you know, would kind of guide me in saying, well, yeah, that's great, that's perfect, that's almost there, here's what I would do, kind of giving me tips. So yeah, so all these figures are 99% accurate to what was used. The next one I believe I did was Starlight. This Starlight, which was again seen on that commercial. Again, this was actually a pretty big pain in the ass, because it was, the head was somebody else's, the body was somebody else's. I think it was like a Jean Grey, but it was an exclusive figure from I want to say it was like exclusive for GameStop or something. I'm not an actual action figure collector for like Marvel, so a lot of these don't ring true to me, but I know that a lot of them were Marvel Legends. And then the hair was somebody else, but then he had cut off there was like a piece of hair that came down here, and then he sculpted in, he meaning James, sculpted in these other wisps of hair. So I did the same thing, and then he chose a real orangey color for her hair for the show, which is interesting. But I think he was just doing the action figure version of it, so it makes sense. And then honestly, man, the hardest part were these stars, getting these straight and accurate. I was like, in these, just a pain in the butt. So I believe the next thing I did was Shockwave, because I loved the dynamic between Shockwave and A-Train, and I even though they didn't make this figure for the show, I wanted one for myself, because I just thought it was a cool character. So I sourced a few different things, but I think the body again was either a Flash, I think it was a Flash body from a TV show, and then I sculpted in the chest and ab plates and the knee pads and the calves and the shoes, and I think I probably did more work on this than a lot of what James probably would have done too. He probably would have known other figures to use. The head, I don't remember what it was, but it matched really well. My favorite thing was just making the visor, the sunglasses. That was kind of fun to make. But yeah, he was cool. Then I believe I made this Starfire, which was never seen in the action figure line for the show, but I wanted a kind of original Starfire. So again, kind of trying to match somewhat of the look, but not using the same head. And I like kind of more going with a golden blonde versus the trampy blonde that she kind of transforms into. And then just kind of just going with, Miss Marvel, I believe. Oh yeah, that's the head, was the Miss Marvel head, I believe, on this. And then I used her body for this with sculpting what I could. So yeah, oops, some of the paint from my stand here. It's funny how it just sticks to the, from down here. Anyways, yeah, it was hard. Also, I had to actually repaint her face and stuff to kind of match this, because I think she was much more white colored, lighter Caucasian. So I wanted to like make her have a slight tan to match that. Then I went on to do Lamplighter, which again is seen in the show. And yeah, I mean, again, I think his cape came from, God, I don't remember, but like I had to sculpt it in and blend it into here. I think from here down, the cape was from a Nick Fury figure, I believe. I honestly don't remember. And then the top was another action figure. I don't recall at this time, but yeah. He was kind of one of those I wasn't going to do, but then when I saw him on the commercial, I'm like, oh, I need to finish him off, right? So, yeah, so, I don't know. He's neat, but something I probably would never have like really, I probably wouldn't have done him had he not been in the commercial. So then that leads us to Stormfront. So Stormfront, I didn't even know was going to be an action figure, even though I'm online friends with James. I'd kind of been peppering him for questions of like what's coming up on season 2, and obviously he couldn't say a damn word, and he never did. But I was like, oh, this character is so cool. I need to make her my own. And I found, and you know, honestly, I don't even remember the figures that I used. I'm so sorry. But I found this figure. Oh, I think it was I want to say it was like a Storm, or gosh dang it, I don't remember the figure I used for her body, but the pose was darn near exact to what the actresses did in a photo shoot for the show. And then the head came from a different figure because all I cared about was something that had a similar kind of flow to the hair. So her hair used to come off on both sides. And then I just cut it here, added some epoxy sculpted in that half-shaved head. And then, yeah, then just painted her, added the cape, did the armor here, the belt, the neckline was different, the shoulder pauldrons. This is styrene as well. And then the boots. In the show, I believe she doesn't have a heel. I mean, she has like a wedge or something like that, but I didn't know that until later, and I might go back and fix that. But yeah, she's actually, but okay, so then James actually had made Stormfront's figure for season 2, which is different than mine. He used like totally different head and body and stuff. And I didn't know it until I actually saw it in production, even though I was trying to get him to tell me. He wouldn't. It was kind of neat that even I didn't know it was going to actually end up in the show. But yeah, so I might actually have to make his version of it now that I have mine. But yeah. So that's all my figures. I hope that answers a lot of questions, and then probably poses a lot more of questions that you guys might have. So I hope I'm thankful for you guys enjoying those that I did, and yeah, I can't wait for season 3 because I love the boys, and now I probably need to go back and repaint this whole backdrop. I should just do like the boys back here, like. But I don't know, kind of like it's like the boys, but it's also like all the 7. And I'm never gonna make, you know, a Huey figure or a Butch, you know, figure. Yeah, I like the thought of having these figures that might be in that universe. Like maybe some kid had these in their universe, and they were like playing like, oh, no, psh. Anyways. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for asking, and I hope this video is not that long, and enjoy.